Well, this all started a few years ago. My buddy Mike is on this deer lease up in Easleyville, Louisiana. And been trying to get me to get on the lease, and I just really wasn't too interested in it, too far away, one thing or another. Well, he invites me up there as a guest, and we get up there. We go right around the property, kind of shows me where everything is, and shows me where he planning on letting me hunt the next morning. And it's Chad, who was a member. It was his stand. Now, it's kind of rolling hills and some replanted pine trees, and over here is a Meat River, and it's a river bottom, hardwoods, and his stand's right on that borderline between the two trees. So the next morning, that's where he drops me off, and I'm hunting that stand. And says he'll pick me up about 10 o'clock. Well, about 9, I couldn't take it anymore. I ain't seen nothing, and I need to use the restroom. I'm not going to do it on his stand, so I kind of go off venturing. Like he said, he told me the Meat River was in the woods a little ways, and I'll explore a little bit, find the river, do what I got to do, and circle back and come back. There's a stand. A lot of folks said, well, you was sleeping. I said, well, this is exactly how it happened. I got back up in the stand, sit down in the chair, put my gun in the corner, and look at my watch, and it's 9:30. I said, well, I got 30 more minutes. He'll be coming to get me. And about that time, over my right shoulder back here, I kind of hear the trees rustling. And I kind of look over, and I see this. The trees are kind of swaying, but there's a ball. And I describe it as a ball of wind. And this is a clear day. Clear day. The front just passed through a few days ago. There's no wind blowing, but these trees start swaying, and this ball passes over, and it's kind of glowing, bluish white color. And when it passed over, I heard in a Native American accent, and what I understood was, "'Cause I want to." Because I want to. Mm-hmm. And I kind of blew it off at first. I said, well, this is just crazy. I thought Mike was he's a trickster. A few minutes later, the exact same thing happened again, and I heard it again. Now I'm freaked out. I get my phone out, call Mike. I said, where you at? He said, well, I'm fixing to come get you. Yeah, you come and get me. You come get me right here at the bottom of this. I'm not walking out. I'm kind of freaked, and he kind of laughs a little bit, and he gets there, and anyway, we kind of joke about it, or he does. I know what I saw, I know what I heard. Now let's fast forward to the next season. This was at the end of that season, whichever year that was. I don't remember, several years ago, but kind of the beginning of the next season. He's up there on his own, and my phone rings at 10:30 at night one night, and I usually don't answer it, but I did. I got up, and it was Mike. He said, I'm not going to laugh at you anymore. He said, I'm calling you to tell you in case something happens to me. He said, I was sitting out on the tailgate of the truck. He was smoking a cigarette before we went in. And now our road for our camp was a dead-end gravel road. And to add to the story later, there's a graveyard at the end of that road, which broke off to the woods to where our lease was. And our camp was about halfway down. It's a trailer house. He's sitting there, and he says, this white, bluish ball, like you said, he said, I saw it coming down the road. Passed over me, got kind of cold. And when it passed over, he said, I heard in plain English, yes, it is me. And he said, I'm just letting you know, I'm locked up in the trailer, got my gun in here, and in case something happens to me tomorrow morning, this happened. We all left it at that for a while. Now, I think that's the year later on towards the end of that season when I decided to get on that lease. And I went and found me a spot and cleared it in the hardwoods. And anyway, John, he's another guy, another buddy that's on the lease. And we put up a tire stand for him. He found a place he wanted to move it. He was actually already on the lease, but we moved it to the top of this hill. And when we go in that road, like I said, past that graveyard, and then you went through the gate, and then it made a Y, we called it. The road went one way and another, and That's where we normally parked if you were hunting on that side of the property. Now, he had to go down that hill, back up the other side of the tall hill, which is where we put his his tower stand. He's hunting that one morning. He says, I see it coming down that hill. Passed right over. He said, got real cold. And now John's half deaf. He probably didn't hear nothing in, but he said, I turned and watched it go back up the other side of that hill. And he didn't hear nothing. And that kind of does it for the paranormal stuff that happened out there. I'm hunting Mike's ground blind one morning, and that was kind of about the same time we'd put John's tower stand up. It was in that same time frame. We saw a real good pig trail that kind of headed out towards where Mike's ground blind was, and I like to hunt those pigs, and that's really what I was after. And we were deer hunting the next morning. We decided we were going hunting, and John would come meet me, and we'd go find that pig trail. Well, it was about 9:15, 9:20. I start hearing foot. Now, there's a gravel pit there, so these roads are gravel. So up on that ridge where the road is coming from his stand, I hear footsteps walking in the gravel. Crunch, crunch, crunch. Heavy footsteps. 2 feet. I know what 2 feet sound like. I know what 4 feet sound like. And I'm thinking, that's John coming to meet me. We're going to look at that for those pigs. Well, them footsteps started coming down that hill where the ground blind was, which he didn't need to come here. I needed to go meet him, and we were going to finish going down the road up there. So when I heard him coming down, I was packing my stuff up in the blind, and I say, hey, John, hang on, I'm coming. And when I said that, it stopped. I'm still getting my stuff together, and I really expected a response. And I didn't get one, so I kind of, hey, John. And when I hollered, whatever that was took off through the wood. I mean, this was some thick woods, myrtle bushes, and it just crunching and blazing the tree, just hauling ass. And I no idea. I mean, that's when I called John, hey, man, where you at? Well, I'm fixing to come meet you. And I'm like, I tell him this story, and no explanation. Initially, my mind went straight to a Bigfoot Sasquatch, and I'm looking for tracks, but it's gravel, and it was bone dry. There's nothing to find. Didn't really think about looking for hair. I mean, but there were broken branches. I mean, I ain't gonna say made a trail. We tried to go as far as we could, and it just got, because we were following it, and it just got too thick and gave up on it. But later on at the end of that year, I just kind of went and cleared out my food plot a little bit better. I brought my skid steer up there, and I made me a new road to get to where I'd put my blind at. Now, my wife was with me on this one, and she'll testify to this. I just made a new little road because my road got kind of bad where I was originally going in, and didn't really rip out anything big or bad or trees. Just kind of blazed a new little trail for the bike to, four-wheeler to go down. We're going hunt the next morning, she and I, and a tree, I don't know, 14, 16 inches in diameter, is laid across the road I just made. And all the branches it's a kind of a dead tree. They're all broke off, but at the other end there's a root ball. And with that root ball right there should have been a hole in the ground where that tree just naturally would have fell over. There ain't no hole. And I kind of look around and stuff for an explanation to this. Well, did I bump that with the bobcat or something when I was making this road? And I just, no. That was, I've heard stories, this means stay out. He come there, you block the road, stay out. Kind of joked around about that a little bit too. And I remember watching a few shows and seeing about the gifting things and stuff. And just for the hell of it, had a quarter. And I put it on a log. Quarter was gone. Didn't leave nothing, but that quarter was gone. What's going to take that? I mean, I see people leaving apples, and I mean, hell, anything's going to take an apple. Squirrels, birds, but a quarter, what's going to take a quarter? Then one other evening, my wife and I are hunting that ground blind again of Mike's. And we went in from the other side. We called it trash pile road. And we hunted that evening, walking out, and it's dark, and it's spooky quiet. And I don't get too scared, but I'm walking out, and just something, that sixth sense kicked in. Man, something ain't right. And I'm just walking, but I didn't say nothing. And we're both walking, both carrying our guns. And she kind of says, "Hey, baby." I said, "Yeah." She said, "I'm kind of scared." I said, "Me too." It's just that something wasn't right. And we kind of double-stepped and got to the bike, and nothing happened. But there's just some weird stuff. But then everything kind of, I don't know, after, like I said, there was that graveyard. Now, we even went up in there. We didn't mess around with the graves, but there was 2 graves side by side. Actually, they're still there, I'm sure. It's got a thumbs up with chains hanging off of it. And the grave on the side of it got a thumbs down chains. And I meant to look at it. I think we did look it up. I don't remember what it meant. Something about heaven, hell. I don't remember what. Spooky. But anyway, I kind of put all that air ball noise, whatever, blob of wind, whatever you want to call it. I attributed that to paranormal type stuff. And when I'd go by that graveyard, I would just kind of, hey, you leave me alone, I'll leave you alone. And it never happened. It didn't happen any more of that. Now, I'll go back to just 2 more instances. A few years later, I have a guide service. And a fella came hunting with me, duck hunting, back at my place, not at this place. And I found out he was from up around Addis, which is is close to that little town of Easleyville. And I just kind of, "Hey man, you ever, anything weird happen up there?" Found out he was a hunter and stuff. "Well, what do you mean?" I kind of like, "Well, I don't know, Bigfoot stuff or, balls of wind or stuff." Wind, no. Yeah, he said, "But I get some howling and tree knocking, but no balls of wind or nothing." And then just this past teal season, fella came, ended up finding out he had the property right next door to where we were at, just north of us. And I kind of got with him and asked him the same thing, and he said, "Yeah," he said, "I've seen them balls." He said, "They were always far away. They were never close." He said, "It was always a couple 100 yards or quarter mile, but he'd see them." But we saw them, I mean, like mine, they was, I don't know, 50 yards over. But the other 2 guys, passed over and just spooky stuff. But one night, we were all up there at that camp, at the deer camp, and just for the heck of it, I said, "You know what, I'm going to do a howl." And I go out there on that gravel road, and I just do the best Bigfoot imitation scream I can do. And it answered back, and we all heard it. And then naturally, John says, "Well, let's do some knocks, too." And we went out there and just beat on a tree, and off in the distance, we heard a couple knocks. I don't know, that's about it.
What kind of howl was it? Like a ooh,
just like the stuff they, oh yeah.
Oh,
just like on TV.
More open mouth.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I went out and just kind of did a best I could scream, and right back at us.
That ball of light, there's a lot of stories you probably know of people seeing those lights out in the woods. I don't know what they are. A lot of people don't know what they are.
Orbs
yeah, typically it's followed by a Bigfoot sighting. So I don't mean to sound woo or anything, but we hear a lot of stories like that.
I do too, and I've seen them, and it just, I mean, I watch those shows where, they're following a set of tracks, and then boom, it just disappears or whatever. Is it going through some kind of portal or gate, or I don't know. I don't want to believe that, but
me either. I'm strictly flesh and blood.
I want them flesh and blood.
Yeah,
I don't want the.
Animal.
But it's hard to. I mean, how do you explain?
You can't
discount.
Yeah,
you
right.
can't.
you can't discount what you saw. I can't sit here and say, well, sir.
Yeah. Well, I've told this story to several people before over all these years, and some of them laugh and some of them don't. And I'm just like, hey,
Telling you what I saw.
I know what I saw.
Exactly.
You know, I know what I heard.
Mm-hmm.
You know, those. When I was thinking John was walking down that tree, I mean, God, I wish I'd have just turned around, you know, or even peered out the door to see if it was John before I would have hollered at him. I mean, or even thought about looking for hair, you know, just.
Or had this sense
I
of
know,
mind.
I know that. I mean, it was big, hard, 2 feet, coming down, crunching in the gravel. You know, it wasn't a deer on 4 feet with little hooves hitting it or nothing. It wasn't a bear or whatever. I mean, I just know it wasn't.
And you just don't have sense of mind to.
Right.
When
I'm
you
just
see
thinking
something
of John.
to pull out your phone, and because you're in such wonderment and awe, and your mind's trying to figure out what am I looking at. So you're not thinking about let me pull out my phone
And get ready
and
or
because
whatever.
people always say, how come y'all never get a picture of anything?
Right.
You know, because your mind is not there. You're trying to figure out what the hell am I looking at right now. That would be me.
Well,
I
I
know
didn't
a
get
lot
to
of
see
people.
it. It would have. That's
Well, the wind,
oh,
the ball,
the
yeah.
orb. That just.
Most people don't.
I still think about it, you know. And I've heard of people talking about orbs, and they might be like a softball size
Yeah.
or small. I mean, this thing was like, 4 or 5 foot, and not just me. My other 2 buddies saw it on different occasions with the same description. 4 or 5 foot ball of wind.
That's on the hunting lease, right?
Mhm.
And easily.
Yeah.
What was I going to ask you? Oh, see, this is why I don't ask questions, because I forget a lot of shit. And plus, I like people to talk because it's about you and not me. And there's a lot of podcasts, and this is being recorded. There's a lot of podcasts I just don't listen to because the hosts are always yammering. I'm like, shut up. We want to hear a story.
Let the guy talk, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But, God, I don't remember what I was going to ask you now. Something about that light and something about Easley.
Easleyville was a little. It's a
Easleyville,
little
I'm sorry.
community, but that's good.
Oh, well, it's gone from my head.
As soon as you turn it off, it'll come back.
And then, yeah.